The wall and the elephant we're looking at are obstacles, but maybe they're not obstacles we need to deal with. Do we have to go head to head with an elephant, try and jump on its back and start taking bites out of it? If really what we're wanting is just to get to the other side of the path that it's standing on, we can go around it. Welcome to the Marketing Report. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 80. The Marketing Report is a podcast for passionate yet frustrated business owners who are looking for a competitive edge. And today I want to talk to some of that frustration. I'm in Australia. We're currently in lockdown, and some good amount of the eastern seaboard is in lockdown too, so a large part of the entire country. Now, that is just one of the things that's on the plate of business owners right now. There are different industries in all sorts of different turmoil, upheaval, change of regulation. There is different pressures for different businesses around the world, whether you're a local business, whether you're in retail, whether you're running a consultancy, running a service business and talking to big business. There are so many different pressures that everyone is experiencing, and it's one of those things where it's not just the COVID situation. I have to say, for the last 7 years, I've been noticing a massive speed up of the individual pressures, and to be honest, I've noticed that over the last 25 years, but it seems to continue to increase the more efficient we become. So I remember way back when I started my professional life, and I was a qualified graphic designer. We were working on advertising campaigns and things of that nature. And back then, if you did an advertisement that was going to go in the paper, we didn't have the internet the way we do today. And so what you'd have to do is you would print out a markup copy, and you would courier it to the client, who would then either make changes or sign their approval, and they would courier it back. And at that point, you would prepare it for artwork and get it to the newspaper or wherever you're going to send it, right? And so that took some time. As technology came in and sped that process up, it wasn't a case of, oh, great, we've got efficiencies now so we can rest a little bit more. No, it became everything suddenly got faster. Right? So technology is fantastic for efficiencies, but it continues to speed up the pace of business. And in some ways, that's a fantastic thing. And in other ways, it's a challenge because we're still humans. And while technology advances and efficiency advances have sped up, our capacity to adapt is probably not quite at the speed of the technology and efficiency advances that we see in business today. So it means that even beside something like a pandemic that's going on globally, we can find ourselves in a bit of overwhelm. We can find ourselves in a situation where we have some form of anxiety, and we may not even be aware of it. You know, there are certain symptoms to some of these things, and I'm not a clinician. I'm not an expert in this space. You know, I've had my own experiences with anxiety and with overwhelm, and even just talking to it from a layperson's point of view, just there are so many things that we should probably start to be aware of. Are we slipping into bad habits? And that's not the purpose of this episode. I want to be talking about how do we actually get past it and how do we rise above it. But I just want to share some of the symptoms, you know, that people are noticing where they might not even be aware that they're in overwhelm right now. So they're slipping back into some old habits, you know, whether that's drinking every day, whether that's getting up a little later, whether it's neglecting some exercise, whatever it might be. Little slips, right? There's little signs that things are happening. Waiting. You know, there is a good time to wait. If there is a strategic reason to wait to act, then I would recommend it every day of the week. But there are a lot of people right now waiting because they're waiting for something external. They're not waiting for something internal. And so they're seeing things going on around the world, and they're like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to be cautious because I'm not sure what's about to happen next. And unfortunately, in some of the states around Australia, what I'm noticing is that people are waiting to the detriment of themselves and their business. And so what they're doing is they are waiting and holding their breath for an end that may not actually be in sight. It could be a little bit further over the horizon than they're expecting, which means holding their breath is not going to do anything good for the life of their business or the life of themselves, because they're putting additional pressure on themselves by waiting rather than actually moving into maybe a little bit of action about how do I adapt. But that's the thing with overwhelm. When you're in overwhelm or when there's anxiety going around, it's difficult to act. Not only is there lack of clarity about the way forward, but there's just potentially a fear, even though you might even not perceive it as a fear, but it's a fear of making a step or stepping into dangerous territory or moving from a space that is not too bad right now. And so any direction you might step, it might feel like you're going to step into danger. But in actual fact, I would say it's probably closer to maybe one of those coyote cartoons, the Roadrunner cartoons, where you're standing in a place in the middle of the desert and there's a shadow that's actually like growing or actually shrinking. I can't remember which way it goes, but there's an anvil and there is an anvil falling out of the sky and it's going to hit you on the head if you don't take a step, right? And so understanding that's actually an interesting one. I don't know if you guys know, but I come from a family of hunters, so people who go hunting. And I'm sure there are people who are very much against hunting in the audience, and it's not something that I do these days. I'm not against it, though. But we used to hunt as children. We would go out with my father and the family, and we'd go on big camping trips, and we would go hunting. And part of the hunting trips was spotlighting. And spotlighting is the process of going out at night with a very bright spotlight and spotlighting animals for the purpose of hunting them. All right. So what's interesting about that is that the light itself, the distraction, was not something that scared off the animals. It was actually something that stopped the animals in their tracks. And so a rabbit, if you put the light on a rabbit, it would literally look at the light and stop. It would just stop dead. And stop dead. There you go. The point being, it gave the situation, being us hunting, an opportunity to complete the job. And, we were quite good at it. And so we would do it, nice, clean kill. And we would eat the rabbits, and then we would do be respectful of the actual process. But it made our life easier. And I think that the current situation is doing the same thing to people where, all the other the world doesn't necessarily want your business to exist. It's tough. Things are against your business. Your business is kind of like the rabbit. There are predators everywhere, and not just individuals, but situations. Situations that are predatory to stopping a business from existing. And so, if you are the rabbit in the headlights, you are going to pause and stop, and often that stopping can be the thing that's dangerous. I think in every business, and you may have heard me say this 100 times, is that the core in it is the energy that you've got as the driver, especially in a small business. If you run out of energy, the business stops. And so the idea is, how can you keep moving? How can you keep taking a step? So, you've got the energy in the past, which is the money, the resources, the team that you now have. You've got your energy in the future, which is the limited amount of time that we all have. So how are you going to better use that energy? Because you don't want to run out of puff. So whether it's stopping because you've got your eyes in the spotlights, and you're stopping because there's that overwhelm and a sense of freaking out. Or, when we actually used to hunt foxes. It's interesting too, because Crimson Fox, you can even see it. It's behind me. If you are watching the video, where is it? There, that way, yes. There is a video version of this, by the way, on YouTube, if you want to check that out, if you're listening to the audio version. But Crimson Fox was the name of our company, but I used to hunt foxes. And the thing about foxes is that they wouldn't necessarily... they'd be a little bit shyer than the rabbits. They'd stay at a distance. But what they would always do is when you shone the light toward them, they would always look back at it. And when they looked back, you could see their eyes. You might not be able to see anything else, but you see their eyes. and there is a place between their eyes where where unfortunately their brain sits. And so you're able to hunt a fox simply because they keep looking backwards. They keep looking backwards and stopping. And the same thing happens again with business. So there are literally predatory situations all around us. So we've got to avoid being the rabbit. How do we get out of overwhelm? I guess why do we get in overwhelm as well? Because yes, there's a lot of pressures, but it's not just as simple as that. I think we're in that space. People get stuck in the overwhelm is because they perceive a wall in front of them, a wall where they can't see the sides left and right. And without actually perceiving the individual bricks, all they see is a massive wall. And so how am I going to scale this wall? Well, I'm not going to start. You know, another analogy is the elephant. You know, people say, how do you eat an elephant? Well, I say with a really big knife and fork. But a lot of people will say one bite at a time. But you see the elephant, and you're like, how am I going to handle that elephant? What's cool about an elephant and a wall is that you don't necessarily have to scale a wall. You don't have to eat an elephant. You can go around it. You can go around the wall. You can avoid the issue totally. So sometimes the elephant that we're staring at or the wall we're looking at, I hope you love these analogies because they're just coming to me. The wall and the elephant we're looking at are obstacles, but maybe they're not obstacles we need to deal with. Do we have to go head-to-head with an elephant, try and jump on its back and start taking bites out of it? If really what we're wanting is just to get to the other side of the path that it's standing on, we can go around it. And the same with the wall. We don't always have to scale a wall. We can go around. We can go around a wall often. And now if we do want to scale a wall or we want to break that wall down, I think the trick is to identify the individual bricks and just look at the bricks themselves and can I take out one brick at a time? And actually move down that way. But it's not as easy as that. I get it. When we're in overwhelm, we can't see the forest for the trees. So what do we do? What do we do in that situation to help the business take a step forward, help the business not be the rabbit, help the business be the successful rabbit, the big fat bunny that lives a long, healthy life, is that we need to keep moving. Now, how do we keep moving? Well, one of the things I always say is what is the tiny yet powerful step that you can do this week to actually get moving again. And I've even got I think it's on Russell Pearson programs, there is a downloadable that is I think it's 101 ways just to boost your business, and that's about energy. It's about what are the little things that you can be doing in your business to get started. But I'll give you some examples. So there are a lot of experts out there who are still using SMART goals, and SMART goals, for those who don't know, it's a goal creation format that uses the acronym SMART, which is specific, measurable, action-orientated, results-based, and time-based. So I kind of like it, but what happens, but that's I think it's because I like models. I like being able to put things in boxes. But the issue with SMART goals is that SMART goals, because of their time-based nature, and they're usually bigger goals. They're usually like, maybe they're not big, hairy, audacious goals that some people call the BHAG, but they are bigger goals. Maybe it's something that like, all right, we're going to increase our product A sales by 20% within the next 3 months, all right, within the next 90 days. And that might be a specific goal. Now, what happens with those goals that are like longer than a month, or even the goals that are a month can be challenging in themselves, but the ones that are longer than a month, we'll say 3-month goal, which doesn't seem a lot for a lot of people because people used to make 5-year and 10-year plans. It's much more difficult to make 5 and 10-year plans now because everything moves at the pace that it does. Everything changes. But let's go back to that 3 months. If we're looking at a 3-month goal, that's 13 weeks. And what happens is you make that goal and you pat yourself on the back and then you go about your business and you go, all right, well, I've got some time and I will get started on that soon, but it's not today. And 6 weeks goes past. You go, oh, wow, it's nearly halfway through the time that I need to take to actually get that goal done. Excuse me. So I will get started. And so in reality, you've shrunk 13 weeks into 7 weeks. And what happens as soon as you try and reduce time? time punishes you, and it throws life at you, and life tends to throw curveballs at you every single day. But those curveballs start coming in, and so your perception of what you can do, which was over 13 weeks, is actually now reduced into 7, and you don't hit your target. You go over the time limit, and as soon as you go over the time limit, there's this and whether it's depressed about the actual result, or whether it's just, I'm just not happy that we didn't get there. What businesses do tend to do is they go, all right, let's make another goal. And they go back and they reset the same goal. And you just have this never-ending cycle of spinning your wheels rather than actually getting growth. And growth is these incremental tiny steps that, add 1% to your business every week. And suddenly you're growing your business at a massive capacity. Like 1% every week. It's like 52%. Let's give you some holidays. That's 48% growth in a year. You do that every year. The compounding effect on that is massive. So what do you do instead? Well, for me, I like to look at ensuring that you know what your intention is. So let's say that your intention is to grow the sales of the business. And let's niche it down and say it was to the 20% for that product line. All right. So without putting a time limit on it, because I think that is actually one that tricks people. It's a mental trick. Without putting a time limit, you go, all right, what is the best first step? Or even better, what is the best next first step? Now that might be making your brain a little bit, a little bit fuzzy right now. But the idea is, from where I am right now to my intention, let's say it's a 20% increase in sales for that product line. What is the thing that I should do right now that's going to move me closer to that instantly this week? Now you could do this daily, you could do this weekly. Monthly I think is a little bit too long. But let's say that you did it every week. Every week you go, what is the one thing that is the next step I need to make? And it could be as simple as making a list of the 100 prospects who we could contact. All right, that would be a good first step. Now, what a lot of people will do, and this is why I want to talk about it, is I want you to avoid this sort of situation, is I'll go, all right, week 1, I'm going to make 100 phone calls, which, for a lot of people, because life gets in the way, can be unrealistic. But you go, all right, I'm going to do that. And then you do it once. It's kind of like the exercising thing where you just like work out really hard on the first day and then you never exercise again because it was just too much work. It took too much out of you. So I like to look at the thing that you do in a week as being, what can I do in an hour? 1 hour. And then I create an appointment with myself, the most important person in my business. So you've got to understand that. It's not the client, because if the client goes away, you can always get another client. If you burn out, there is no business. Okay, so when you're in a small business, when you're driving the business, you are the most crucial person in that business, because if you're still there, if you've got the energy to take another step, then that business will continue. So that's why that's so important. So let's say you're there, you go, all right, what's something I can get done in an hour? You create an appointment with yourself. Again, that's not going to shift because you're the most important person in the business. And you get that one thing done, but it needs to be realistic to an hour. Not realistic to a day, just an hour. So what can I get done in an hour? Maybe you can create that 100-person list. Maybe that's too much. Let's go, all right, well, let's get more realistic. We're going to create 20 people on a list. All right, great, fantastic. So we've done that in this week. Bing, tick, fantastic. You've got a win, which is amazing because these little steps give you these wins. And the little wins give you the confidence to keep growing and moving forward. And it's getting that confidence back will get you out of overwhelm. That's the goal. So you don't need to think about the size of an elephant or the size of the task. You don't have to break it up into its tiny little pieces, because that in itself is an overwhelming step for a lot of people. All you need to do is, what is the first thing that I need to do next? Well, what is the one thing I need to do next? And so let's say you've created your list of, say, 20 people. Fantastic. We're now in week 2. What is the next best thing I can be doing? Call those 20 people, if that's the way to go about it. All right, fantastic. In week 2, we've called the 20 people. Week 3, we've called it. Because we've had calls, we've now got data, we've now got feedback, we now know, is the calls going to be enough? Is that going to actually get us the best next step? Now, if it is, if we're finding that we're getting a return on making these calls, let's say we called 20, we got 4 appointments, let's say, then that's a very good outcome, because if these are new appointments on top of the work that you're already doing, then that may be enough to get you that 20%. And it might be something that you can get not in 3 months' time, that could be something you can get in 6 weeks' time. So having that intention and actually saying, what is the best next step for me right now, given the circumstances, given everything that's around it, to achieve that intention. That's a great way to actually get over the overwhelm or out of the overwhelm, because it will allow you to focus on just one thing rather than the big goal, and you're seeing all the bricks. You're seeing all the different elements in a wall and saying, like, how do I accomplish that? There are too many elements. I can't even name the elements. I don't even know what the next steps are, but you do know what is the first step. And sometimes that first step can be getting advice. So that's what a lot of people do when they come and work with me. Some of the time they're working with me because they can't see the forest for the trees, and so I'll do strategy work with them. Other times it's they need either one or two things. Usually it's they need education. They're not sure how to get consistency in their leads. They're not sure how to get a good consistent sales process, or they are feeling confused about their position in the market. That could be some of the reasons. Now that's one thing. Or they kind of know these things, but they need the accountability. They need someone to actually do the forest for the trees stuff and say, this is the most crucial thing that you should be getting done this week. And it just makes life so much easier when you're looking at one thing rather than the massive goal, which is a wall full of bricks, and say, which brick should I pick next? And the planning process for a lot of people is overwhelming itself too. So if you can step back from that process, make it easy on yourself, say, what are the not intentions, let's get clear, and say, what is the intention for the thing that I'm actually going to do? And that's an important one too. If you're making an intention for your business, don't just make it intangible. So I'll give you an example. My intention for the next month, let's say, is I'm going to launch my website. Why? Why are you launching a website? There's nothing tangible in launching a website for a result for the business. There's no outcome. Yes, you've now got a tool, but that's not something to make an intention about. The intention should be, what is the thing that the business is going to gain? Now, if I'm doing this website because I'm trying to attract new customers, then the intention would be, how am I going to attract customers? Because by coming back to the attraction piece, you can be questioning your activities and saying, is this thing that I'm about to do going to get me that result? Is this next step going to actually get me in alignment with the thing that I want, the outcome I want in the business? Or is it another busy step? Is it the fox? You know, the distraction for the fox. You keep looking at it. You know, it's a good way to stop again by doing work that's not actually creating an outcome for your business. So a big area that people spend a lot of time in, and remember I started this conversation saying that I'm actually a trained designer. So I used to do a lot of this work for people, creating logos, creating websites, doing all that sort of work. And it's interesting because they can just hold people up from doing the thing that's going to get them the outcome. You know, everyone's got a mobile phone at the moment, and a mobile phone is an amazing communication device. So being able to have just a phone, no logo, nothing else, and being able to call people up direct from it can be the simplest and most straightforward way to actually build a business. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying that I want you to understand that your squiggly line trying to get from A to B is unnecessary. You can actually say, I'm going to get from here to there, A to B. And in order to do that, ask yourself, what is the first best step I can make to get there? And as you get more information, as you get more feedback, as you get results from the work that you're doing, then you adjust accordingly. But you can do that daily, or you can do that weekly. And if you need support, get it. I think that's the crucial part. And what I have noticed, actually, I was speaking to some colleagues in the mental health space, and we were talking about the suicide rates, and there's a perception that the suicide rates are going up while lockdown's happening, but in actual case, they've gone down in Australia anyway, and not a lot, but a significant amount. So a notable amount, let me say it that way. But what has increased is the use of support networks. So like Beyond Blue and a number of other pieces like that, their calls have increased. So people are getting support. And I think that's fantastic. I think it's fantastic to know that the world has moved to a place where people are comfortable to get support. Now, for a lot of people, I'm sure that it needed the pressure of something like a pandemic to actually make them take that step, but I'm really glad that they're actually using that resource. So if you are stuck in either a space where mentally you're stuck, or you're having some bad thoughts or whatever it might be, do reach out for that mental support or mental health support that is all around this country and in most countries, to be honest. So it's there, so utilize it. If you're in your business and you're stuck, and you're worried about what's happening in the business, then again, reach out to people like me and say, this is ideally where I want to go, but this is where I am. How do I get there? Like, how do I get over this situation where I can't see what's going on around me? And look, that's exactly the reason that I have a coach of my own, is to get very, very clear that I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers for my own business, and often I'm too close to my own business to actually see quite a clear and simple way forward. So that's why I speak to my own coach and coaches. Actually, I've got different coaches in different areas who help me identify the things that I may not be aware of and some steps that I may not be aware that I can even take. So, that's what I wish for you. And for those who would like a bit of a rev up, who are listening to this podcast still in August, when we are releasing it, I've got a very cool event coming up, which is called Rise Above, and I'm doing that with Peter Thurin, Dr. Amy Silver, Warwick Merry, and we're bringing a bit of fun, a bit of joy, also some very practical steps that people can take to rise above the noise that is happening out there in the business environment right now. So if you need a bit of a rev up, if you're looking for an opportunity to get together with some great people, because we've got quite a lot of people booked for it at the moment, but it's online, so it's open for everybody. We're going to be having a conversation as much as sharing some great ideas as well. We'd love you to attend, and you can go to russellpearsonprograms.com/rise-above. And if you go there, you'll be able to register for the event. It's absolutely free. We're putting it on because it's the thing that I'm perceiving right now is this overwhelm in certainly the small business space. And I'm concerned that some of these small businesses are going to stop like the coyote and get hit by an anvil, or they're going to stop like the rabbit, and actually the predatory things that are out there in the environment are going to ruin their business. So let's not let that happen. Let's keep moving. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep taking a step forward. And I think Rise Above is a really good step if you're looking for a bit of motivation, a bit of inspiration, and a bit of a rev up to help you get moving in your business this month. If you're interested to know how you can engage more with me, there are some free opportunities, which I think you should probably take advantage of. There's the Future Proof discussion group, or the Future Proof business group in particular, on Facebook. That is a very, very cool place where we've got several hundred very awesome business owners who catch up there and have great conversations about how to adapt their business. And again, that's not just in the face of pandemic, that is in the face of constant change. So how can we be doing better and getting better results in our business, and basically building the businesses that we want, that are going to give us the life that we want. So if you're interested to do that, search it up, Future Proof Business Group on Facebook. Apply within, and I'll let you into that group. That's absolutely free as well. So until next time, tell your friends all about the Marketing Report podcast with Russell Pearson. Share the love, share the word, and stay passionate. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Make sure to visit russellpearson.com for more podcast episodes, videos and more. russellpearson.com.